Okay, hey everybody, Teching 101 here. We are live. It is Sunday, August 3rd, 2025, 10:50 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, coming to you from the lovely Appalachian Mountains from the middle of nowhere. Teching 101 and Barry the Brick, here to discuss chapter 1156 of a Japanese manga about pirates that go out in the sea and have superpowers, I guess. Do you ever just sit back and think about the plot of One Piece when you're really, it's just pirates with superpowers. That's all it is. Actually, what's really fascinating about One Piece, and I've definitely noticed this several times, Oda really loves taking things from our world that would be considered like conspiracy theories and just making them real in the One Piece world. Imagine a world where every conspiracy theory turned out to be real. That's kind of the One Piece world. All right? Think of all the nonsense that would be. It's just like the government is actually ruled by a shadowy ghost vampire and the world is going to flood. And there was actually this super advanced civilization that lived 10,000, 20,000 years ago. And there was also these ancient weapons. And there's also aliens. And there's also, just think of the nonsense that would be. And that is the One Piece world. The one thing is the One Piece world is not flat. Although I wouldn't be surprised if at one point we find out later on, during the first age, the world was flat. Actually, I think you're going to have to correct me on my Lord of the Rings lore because I'm not way into that series. But isn't there a thing where in the first age of the backstory of in the Silmarillion, the world was flat in Middle Earth at one point, and then it gets made round later on during the Akalabeth or something? I think that is a thing where it's originally it was a flat world. Yeah. Do you think Silver Axe has a Rouge's Devil Fruit? I mean, we could just start off by talking about Silver Axe, because that dude just showed up. That dude was a boss. Last person mentioned, really, and then he just shows up out of nowhere think you forgot about somebody. Ugh! It was something out of a cartoon where they're making fun of him, and then all of a sudden just fist crushes some dude's head. Focus, camera, focus. There you go. Yes, it was. It was like that at one point. Oh, okay. Yes, Middle Earth was flat. All right, so there we go. We're going to go first age with the One Piece world during the Harley text. The world was flat and then became round, and then it flooded, and that's where we're at right now. There we go. That's what we have. But yeah, let's just start by talking about Silver Axe. Why not? All right, so we don't have a lot of information about the guy previously. There was one mention of him before this. Let me just check really quick. Rox's crew. I think there's a snapshot I have of when Sengoku was talking about everybody. He mentions, he name drops Wang. He name drops Silver Axe as Sengoku was going over everybody. So the only person that had yet to be revealed, technically, Gilbastar is during God Valley, but Gilbastar is way in the background, and we don't even really see the guy. You do see him. You see him. There's Gilbastar. So we technically see him. I don't think he's in the anime because, the anime shot is like this. Although Barbell is in this shot. If you look behind Whitebeard off to the right, you do see Barbell way back there. But he's way more prominent in the manga. You see him way clearer in the manga. But at any rate, yeah, so we haven't really gotten a proper introduction to Gilbastar, but Silver Axe, we have still technically seen him. Silver Axe was the last one that we were really we knew about, and then he's there, okay? So Gil looks a lot like Zephyr. He looks like a younger version of Zephyr. He has a different kind of design. I should have talked more about his design because his design is so damn sick. He's wearing Wano-inspired clothing. Same thing with Shiki. Him and Shiki are rivals, and it makes sense because Shiki is the Golden Lion, or will become the Golden Lion later, and Kyo will later become known as the Silver Axe. So I'm actually really curious how that is going to go. They don't have those titles yet. he is Kyo the Hitman. He's a mercenary. And Shiki is just Shiki the Yakuza or Shiki the Wicked. So they do not have these gold and silver titles yet. Where do these come from exactly? Is it just maybe at some point they have a big battle and they like during that battle, Silver Axe uses a silver axe and Shiki uses a golden lion? Shiki's like, oh, you brought an axe to a lion fight. He just pulls out a lion. I don't know. I don't know. I did a video with, we did record a podcast in Japan with Manu. I got to message him about that, see what's going on with that. I don't know, but we did record one. Maybe there was an issue with the recording. I don't know, but we did record one. I remember that day. That was like the second day I was there. Is there a non-zero chance that Gloriosa is Dragon's mother? We'll get to Gloriosa. Well, maybe not Dragon's mother. That one, the thing I've heard about everybody talking about is about Tritoma being Luffy's mom, which is, I did do a video about Tritoma last year, and I think I talked about that, if I remember correctly. I might have to make another video, though, because that was like a year ago now. But yeah, we'll talk about Tritoma. But for right now, we're going to be discussing Silver Axe and Shiki. Yeah, so let me pull up the chapter here. And then we can go down and we can just look at what Silver Axe looks like. Oh, God, Shaki is so attractive. Okay, here we go. So he's got the axe. He's already got the axe sort of aesthetic, though, right? He's not Silver Axe right here, but he is, yeah. Okay, so he's got like an X thing going on. He's got X sunglasses, and he's got a big X on the side of his, like a tattoo, and also like a flower tattoo under that. So does he grow in size? Because there's one scene here where he's wandering into town, and he looks to be about the same height as like everybody else in town, like somewhere between, like average height. Like I'm only 5'5", so I'm not average, but like this guy's like what, like maybe 6 feet or something like that. So he's wandering into town, and everybody's just immediately making fun of him and just like, who are you, dumbass with a cloak? And just like kicking him around and everything like that. And then in the very next scene, you have Silver Axe now reaching out with his hand and like apparently seems to grow several times in size, grabs the dude and like crushes his head. Like his fist is now bigger than this guy's head. And it was clearly he was not that big in the previous shot. So he did have to grow. Either that or Oda was just like, oh yeah, I forgot I drew him this size and now he's this big, right? But this is looking like, yeah, so Aruge's Devil Fruit, we still don't know the name of it. But the Devil Fruit is, he uses a technique called Retribution. Let's pull up an Aruge video here. Let's see what we got here. When was the last time I made a video about Aruge? It was a while back. Let's see. Here we go. Here's an Aruge video. Here's just Aruge's face. Here's Aruge's face. Ooh. Hello there, everybody. When am I going to be in this story? I don't know, but I'm going to be there sooner or later. All right. So last time we saw Aruge, yeah, he was like just chilling out on a sky island and just resting. But he has a Devil Fruit ability, and the Devil Fruit ability allows him to grow in size whenever he receives damage. He calls this ability Retribution. All right, so every time he gets hit, he grows larger. We have seen that's the way it functions. We don't know the name of it. There's lots of references to him with like Buddhism, obviously, even his original bounty, which we don't know what his current bounty is, but his original bounty was 108, which is the same kind of deal as like 108, like Pound-a-Ho, like Zoro's technique. So there's like references there to like Buddhism. That's like a holy number there. So we got this. All right. So it would count if Silver Axe gets hit and then grows big and then Silver Axe dies later on. Maybe Silver Axe is the hero that lives in, well, was born in the West and ended up in Wano. Maybe, so before we knew about Silver Axe's design and what he looked like and how he was going to be a parallel to Shiki in a sort of way, like a rival to Shiki, because that's mentioned directly. Shiki's rival is Silver Axe, okay? So I assumed maybe it was Shiki that was buried in that tomb. Shiki maybe went to Wano to go defeat Kaido, and then he died and whatever. But now I'm thinking it is Kyo. It is Silveraxe. Maybe at one point, Silveraxe goes and tries to stop Kaido if he is from Wano. Same exact story as I had with Shiki, except switch out Shiki for Silveraxe. There we go. We could just do that. Yeah. Kyo and Shiki are from Wano, or maybe from the Ao Kingdom. Where is that again? You think I would know, because Ao means blue in Japanese. Let me just double check really quick if that's a thing. Oh, I mean the Aoi Kingdom? That is the place where Isho was the military chief at. Yeah. Yeah. Aoi, yeah, it's not the exact same thing. It means ginger. It means yeah. Oi can also mean blue or green in Japanese. Ah, okay. Let's see. The latter is prominently featured on the crest of the Tokugawa clan, a Japanese dynasty. Yeah, so the Tokugawa shogunate, right? Yeah. What is our next animal facts series? Are we doing? We did plant facts, and we did tree facts, and we did animal facts. I don't know what's up next. We'll have to see. Rox isn't Blackbeard, nor even Buggy. He's just a more brash version of Luffy. I gotta be honest, I'm really digging the fact that Rox is not like just big, tough, stupid guy. Like he's got some stuff with him that's like, hey, follow me if you want, don't follow me if you don't believe me. I'm not forcing anybody into this. You know, he just straight up tells them when he forms the crew, like, if you don't want to be here, then just fucking leave. You know what I mean? Like, that's the idea that he spreads. And he, like, seems to be, like, he's really against violence to get, well, not against violence, but he's against violence to get Harald on their side. Because Kaido is just like, well, we have this really strong pirate crew now. Why don't we just roll over to Elbaf and just beat the shit out of the giants and then get Harald to help us? And then Rox kicks the crap out of Kaido and is just like, never say that kind of shit. Harald is my friend. I'm not going to force him to do anything. You know, and you know, the thing is, Rox needs Harald. Like, he straight up says, I need Harald, and I need him to eat that devil fruit in order for my plan to work. I need him for this. And Kaido's like, all right, let's go force him to help us. And he's like, no, never. It's like, so he's got a freaking sense of morality, if nothing else. He has lines he won't cross, I guess. I actually guesstimated that Shaki was Kuja from 20 years from shortly after 1156, 44 years ago to 24 years when Roger died. Well, I actually guesstimated that Shaki was Kuja Empress for 20 years. Oh, okay, yeah, I see. Yeah, we don't know how long Shaki was the Empress for. But if she was Empress for 20 years, that would put her at around, 40-ish, years old. And then Tritoma would have taken over. And then Tritoma, though, Boa became the Empress like 13 years ago. Boa is like 31 right now, so she became the Empress 13 years ago. So Tritoma would have only been Empress for like 7-ish years or so, probably less than a decade that Tritoma was probably Empress. That she got the love sickness and died, which we will be talking about that. We will be discussing that, yeah. So Silveraxe looks awesome, yes. Considering geography is everything and we're getting massive info on rocks, how about a rocks fact? Oh, yeah, we go through minerals. I have thought about that, the mineral video. Have to call in Hank Schrader from Breaking Bad for that one. Yeah, but that wouldn't be a bad idea. I wouldn't be against that. Yeah, we can maybe do minerals, yeah. Is Gloriosa Nami's biological mother? I'm going to say no. See, that's the thing. Like, there's a lot of characters in One Piece that have similar designs. Not all women look exactly the same, but there's a lot that do, and they have, like, a same basic style. So that's the thing where I get hesitant saying that, like, oh my god, this character looks like Nami, therefore Nami's mom. I'm like, there's a few that have the same kind of body shape, so, I don't think Gloriosa's Nami's mom, no. Imagine randomly getting King's backstory next. Like, okay. I mean, like, I'm okay with that. If the next backstory wants to be talking about the Lunarians, let's go. Let's go with the Lunarians. I love the idea that Loki is just gossiping about the Kuja pirates' love life while Hiruden is seething. So I don't think Loki... That's the thing. Like, there's so much here that Loki is not part of. Loki's backstory is literally just the part where he went to the castle and saw Harald get killed, all right? Then the narrator takes over, Oda or Panda Man or whoever the fuck is narrating this story. It's actually me. Panda Man takes over and is like, all right, well, in order to understand the reason why Harald got stabbed from 27 different directions. We now need to know about Harald's backstory. So let me take you back to 109 years ago. And then, well, in order to understand Harald's backstory, you really need to understand Rox's backstory. So, and then the narrator takes us on a side tangent over to Roxland. But here's the thing, though. The fact that we're learning so much about Rox has to tie in to Harald's backstory. So, we know Harald did not die until 14 years ago. So, Harald could not die during, when God Valley or anything like that. Rox and Harald, there's going to be a breaking point here. What if Rox tells him to come to God Valley with him and Harald refuses? He thinks about it, but he refuses. And what if it's going to be one of those things where if Rox is like, if Harald was here, we would have won? Maybe. And then that was the moment where Harald was like, no, I'm not helping you. And then Rox died. It was like, oh, my friend Harald, if only you were here. And then Rox dies, I wonder if Blackbeard decided to eat Whitebeard's devil fruit because he can't get that second fruit his dad needed. Whitebeard's fruit was plan B, as it's very destructive. Very well could be. We have not seen Whitebeard utilize the Quake fruit yet in the backstory, and some people have actually... Let me, before we get into the whole thing with the Kuja, because there's a lot of stuff to unpack in this chapter. So this is Barbel. Actually, the original translation of his name in the spoilers I saw is translated as Babel, like as in Tower of Babel. I thought that would have been really cool. But Barbel, let's just go with Barbel. He's a catfish fishman. Catfish have connections to earthquakes in Japanese lore. If you've ever played Pokemon, so the third generation Whiscash, there's a reason why Whiscash is a ground water type Pokemon that is capable of using earthquake. Because that's the reference, all right, that catfish can cause earthquakes. So there's actually a theory around right now that Barbel actually is the user of the Quake fruit. He has the Gura no Mi. He dies, so we don't see him anymore. He dies. In fact, he very well might be a general zombie. He might be this zombie off to the left. So that's Gansui, obviously, in the background. Barbel might be the dude on the left, the guy that's all sealed up in the Iron Maiden. It could be him. But he dies, or he's not around anymore, and then Whitebeard gets his devil fruit. That might be an idea that some people have thrown around. That I like that theory, so I'm going to go with that right now. Because we have yet to see Whitebeard use any of the earthquake powers. We've yet to see him do that. He seems like he still has Murakumo Giri, but he doesn't have the that, yeah. A catfish gives you the Quake ability. Yeah, so it shows up in a bunch of different like video games and manga, anime, anything that there's the reference there, yeah. Yeah, and a sword god sealed the catfish under a rock or something. Yeah, that's probably a reference to something, yeah. When did we think the backstory was only going to be 3 or 4 chapters? Dude, we have to go back through the whole backstory. We have to go from Rox back to Harald, back to Loki's backstory, back to the present. The zombie does not have fish hands. See, I was looking, and I was like, look, this is a thing that was a long time ago, and if, like, I can't even tell. Like, I guess there's one little gap right there between the thumb and the pointer finger that's not gills. But, like, are you going to chalk that up to an animation mistake, or are you going to chalk that up to, like, a debunking? I'm going to say animation, if nothing else. This was a long time ago. You know what I mean? So, yeah. It's okay if they didn't animate that little tiny detail on that character. Tritoma loved Shanks, placing that bet. All right, so let's talk about Tritoma. All right, so Tritoma is the former Empress of Amazon Lily, right before Boa and right after Shakuyaku. We see her for the first time in the manga in the last chapter. We get introduced to her through an SBS last year. I think it was SBS like 102 or something. Oda reveals Tritoma. They're all named after flowers. So in the last chapter, Gloriosa and Shakuyaku were captain and first mate of the Kuja Pirates, respectively. We do not know how old Granny Nyon is. Granny Neon, like, let's say, I don't know, is somewhere around, like, if she would have been the same age as, like, Whitebeard and Sengoku and Garp, she'd be in her late 70s, maybe her early 80s right now. So back in those days, she'd be probably in her, like, 30s. Shakuyaku, we do know her age. She would have been 20 years old back then. And so that puts Tritoma, she was clearly, like, a little kid. She was clearly, like, an apprentice pirate, sort of like Buggy and Shanks were on Roger's crew for the Kuja, is the implication, like, 44 years ago. So, yeah. So she had all the fan letters that she was bringing over to Gloriosa, like, oh, your fan letters have arrived. Kind of like a little, like, hey, here are your fan letters. There's like 100. What about that giant pile of 10,000? Of just like, oh, that's for Shocky. It's like, what? Gloriosa, feeling jealous, could have ran to the Rocks crew or was recruited after losing her Empress title and being rejected. She wished to be wanted. So, no, I don't think that's the way it went. The idea is that Gloriosa had lovesickness, and in order to cure it, she had to run off and be with the person she wanted to be with, which was Roger, which means she had to leave her title as, like, Empress. And so I think she left the Empress title willingly to go chase after Roger, which ended up her on the Rocks crew because Rocks and the Roger crew fought quite frequently. So that's how that kind of probably ended up there. And then eventually she does get kind of, Tritoma does welcome her back to Amazon Lily, although she's kind of exiled. But she's allowed to stay on the island if nothing else. So, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, Shanks wouldn't have even been born yet. But, you know, and I even mentioned this in the chapter, Dragon. You know, that's the thing. Like, people are saying Shanks. I've been seeing a lot more theories that Dragon was the one that Tritoma had the love sickness for. So Dragon was born 55 years ago. He would have been 11 during this backstory. Tritoma and Dragon would have been around, probably roughly around the same age. That makes way more sense to me. Yeah, so what if it was Dragon that Tritoma fell for, like, later on in life, and then did not choose, though, to leave Amazon Lily? Now, this has led to a thing where... Oh, yeah, the official's out. Thank you. This leads to a thing where Luffy's mom might have been Tritoma, right? Like, that's what everybody's kind of saying. So let me pull up that Tritoma video I did last year. Doesn't feel like a year ago, but okay. Here goes Tritoma. So Hancock is in love with a cousin. I don't think that Tritoma is Luffy's mom, but I'm saying that's the theory that I've been seeing around, okay? So, yeah, that would be weird. But, I mean, hey. So, yeah, I don't think I have anything else in the Tritoma. Like, oh, I have this. Probably Luffy's mom. Let's see here. Crocodile. Dragon is actually Luffy's mom because of Ivankov's ability. Random lady that we saw in the Uta tie-in chapter. Tritoma or Ginny. Just random. Probably Luffy's mom. Yeah. Crocodile stocks are high. So there is a line. Let me go and pull it off of the shelf because that'll probably be quicker. Hold on a second. I also have this image of a beetle. I don't know why I have that, but here you go. Here, look at this beetle while I go look at the. I go look at my volume here that I need to reference. Okay, Amazon Lily is volume 53. I'm just gonna grab all of these just in case. Check out that beetle. Why is Ginny there? Because when Ginny first showed up, I was like, oh, she's eating a lot of food and she's part of the revolutionaries, therefore Luffy's mom, just forgetting that Bonnie existed. Anyway, this is volume 53. This is one of my favorite volume covers ever. I love Luffy walking on the rainbow snakes down there. That's pretty cool. All right. So, let's see. Yeah, this is when Luffy arrives on Amazon Lily. So, let me see. Oh, this is when the, this is what, dude, Oda is insane for this. Like, really, like, this is like, this volume opens up with the chapter where all of the Straw Hats get absolutely devastated, right? Like, they all get sent flying by Kuma, right? This is such an intense chapter. Like, Luffy's there like, I couldn't save any of my friends. They're all gone. And then the very next chapter, the following week, maybe there was a break week. The very next chapter, though, body parasite mushroom. And then it's just a chapter of, like, mushrooms growing out of Luffy. And then the Kuja try to rip off like his dick. It's just like it goes from this to this, like, immediately, right? Oh, yeah. I think Silver Axe is Drake's granddad. Yeah, maybe Drake could be related to him as well. So he was Diaz Barrels was Drake's father. Maybe Kyo the Wicked was his grandpappy. Yeah. All right. Anyway. So what do we have here? All right. So Luffy got sent flying to Amazon Lily, and I think it's the narrator that comes in maybe in the next chapter. Okay, here it is. The nation of Kuja is a tribe of women warriors. This is Amazon Lily, the island of women. Men are absolutely forbidden. If any man sets foot on this island, he forfeits his life. Okay, and then in the next chapter, the narration continues. What's important is this. Now and then, one of the women ventures to the outer oceans and returns with a baby in her belly. For some mysterious reason, only female children are born here. So there's a thing with the Kuja where at least when they're on the island, it's only girls that are born. That doesn't necessarily mean that Kuja cannot have boys, but maybe they can't be on the island when that happens. I don't know what the rule is exactly, but it was mentioned that at least like the Kuja on the island, they only give birth to girls, okay? So I don't think Tritoma's Luffy's mom, but every time there's a character that shows up that could even fit that description. And Tritoma does sort of look like Luffy. I mean, she has black hair, if nothing else, and it's short and kind of resembles Luffy a little bit, I guess. Okay, maybe. Yeah. That is the official version. That's the Viz version, yeah. I think it's the island powers. Yeah, I'm thinking that too. Like, it could easily be a curse or something like that. Some kind of thing on the island where only girls can be born. And if a member of the Kuja can have a boy, but has to be like off the island and live somewhere else in order to have the child. But Tritoma didn't leave, which makes it even more like even if that is a way to get around the curse or whatever the hell, right? Like, Tritoma never left. That was the point. She never left. And then she died. Yeah. Do we know how Amazon Lily came to be a thing? No, we don't. We do not. We know Amazon Lily. So Kuja just means 9 snakes. And if you, let me pull up the geography is everything. Geography is everything! That was actually the first geography is everything I ever did. Was Amazon Lily. I wanted to start strong. What's the first island I'm going to talk about? First island. The island with the most beautiful woman in all of One Piece in it. Sandersonia. Oh, come on. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, here's the island. The island's actually gotten sliced to fucking shit by S-Hawk. He really sliced up the island bad. But yeah, the island just means 9 snakes, and you can see the kanji for 9 right there, and the mountain also has 9 snakes on it. Yeah. Have I ever talked about the theory about Shaki being Mihawk's mother? Man, Oda's over there. I wish Oda's reading these theories right now, and Oda's just over there being like, I'm never revealing Luffy's mom. I'm never revealing that. Don't bully me. I mean, it's platonic. Shaki Roger Pirates is similar to Robin joining the Straw Hats crew. She wins everyone but Zoro, and then chat to Zoro about Straw Hats noise. I mean, by that logic, are Zoro and Robin going to get together? Like, I'd be okay with that. I mean, I'm going to ship Robin and Frankie forever, but like Robin and Zoro, like, okay, yeah, that's a nice couple. By the way, Roger, right? Like in the last chapter. So yeah, Roger's like charging off and just like, Shakuyaku, we're gonna kidnap you and you're gonna be part of our crew from now on, right? I like, at least that's one thing. Like, it's Oda depicting like even the beauty of the Kuja was enough to sway even the king of the pirates, right? Like, even an incredibly powerful warrior like Roger was swayed by the Kuja and was helpless before them. That was the idea of the chapter. But here's the thing. We don't have to worry about that problem with Luffy. We don't have to worry about Luffy falling to, like, the feminine wiles or anything like that. We've already seen that at Amazon Lily. You know, Luffy is basically asexual, so we don't have to worry about that with him. He is immune. But yeah, Roger was not. No, Zoro's going to end up with that barrel of sake. Or maybe Hiyori. Yeah, maybe Hiyori. Door dashing with some teching. Great. What did I get from DoorDash a little while ago? I ordered something. I can't remember what it was. When I was at Tekko, I ordered Cheesecake Factory. That was fun. Yeah. Rox mentions that the fruit on Elbaf would only show its true power if Harold used it. Yeah, so it's probably an ancient giant. Like, an ancient giant has to eat the fruit in order to get it, which makes me feel like it's some kind of mythical zone. Wouldn't it be interesting? So remember back when we were talking about, like, what happens if a human eats the human fruit kind of thing, right? Like, Sengoku ate a mythical version of the human fruit, right? I wonder if it's a mythical zone model ancient giant or something, or ancient zone model ancient giant, and an ancient giant eats it. I wonder if they turn into, like, the original, like, Oni giant or something. Like, there was giants that were so big they were able to, like, build the red line, right? And so maybe that's the devil fruit that's on Elbaf. That would make sense if it's on Elbaf. And then if a normal person eats it, they turn into an ancient giant, like the size of Loki or Harald. But if Harald or Loki were to eat it, they become, like, continent size, right? Like, they get the ability to, like, really move some freaking islands around. Yeah, because of the Kuja, it just adds to the roster. So how about Tritoma's Luffy's mom? We already talked about that. I don't think she is. Then again, I'm kind of hesitant on, like, if we're ever even gonna learn about Luffy's mom in that way. It might be learning more about, like, whenever we get Dragon's backstory, we might get, like, a lady in the backstory that's like, yeah, that's probably Luffy's biological mom. But I feel like Oda might keep it ambiguous. But yeah. Yeah, if Tritoma is Luffy's mom, well, we don't know actually if Tritoma is blood related to Boa, if they're cousins. We don't know that. Not that I think Luffy's going to marry Boa by the end of the story. That's not going to go down. Luffy is married to Adventure. Adventure is his muse. But yeah, Tritoma is maybe we could find out. It's going to be one or the other. It's like Luffy's, well, not one or the other. That's like a Pascal's wager thing. It's not a 50-50 shot. Tritoma is either Boa Hancock's mom or she's Luffy's mom. One or the other. Flip a coin. There's no other options. Adventure and meat. So Tritoma is crocodile? Sure. Luffy is the child of destiny. Yeah, we kind of already know that, yeah. Hancock changes her name to Adventure. She would do that too, yeah. Oh, yeah, Shaki quit pirating 42 years ago. So she's 64 right now, so she would have been 22. So wait a minute. Now, that's interesting. Okay, shortly thereafter. Okay. So we can time zone this out. Time zone? We can timeline this out. All right. 44 years ago is when the last chapter happened, when Gloriosa and Shaki fought against the Roger Pirates, and then Garp showed up. That was 44 years ago, okay? So Shaki was 20. Then 2 years later, it was mentioned right after that moment, Gloriosa fell ill, and shortly thereafter, Shaki became the Empress. So it would coincide. It would coincide with her at 42 years ago, so she'd be 22, leaving the pirate life. Well, no, because when you're the Empress, you're still a pirate. Like, Boa is the Empress and the pirate captain of the Kuja. So then that would mean Gloriosa falls ill. I'm assuming abdicates immediately because the love sickness doesn't like wait around for 2 years. The love sickness just fucking kills you. Like Boa was looking rough when she was sick. You know, she was looking extremely sick, and I think, what was her name? I think her name might have been Belladonna. There's a doctor on Amazon Lily. I think her name is Belladonna. She looked at Boa and was like, yeah, we can't cure this illness. And then Neon tells her, you gotta leave. But it looks like she was in a lot of pain. Like, she might have died pretty soon. Like, right? So Gloriosa immediately abdicates. She leaves. Shaki takes over and then only spends 2 years as Empress. And then she leaves, and then Tritoma takes over. But Tritoma would have been pretty young at this time. So that's what I mean. Like, Tritoma might have been burdened by this, right? Like, Gloriosa leaves, Shaki leaves, like, almost immediately after, and then it's like, okay, maybe, like, it's like Carrot. Carrot is, like, 15 and is, like, the Duchess of Zoe. You know what I mean? So it might have been the same thing with Tritoma, where it's like, okay, you're now the new Empress, and she was like, okay, I have, you know, like, all this responsibility and shit. And then eventually when she fell in love with somebody, whoever that was, she was like, I can't leave, because literally the last 2 empresses left their fucking country behind and just abandoned their people. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to actually stay here and actually be an empress. And then she shoved her feelings down, you know, like repressed them to the person that she fell in love with, and then she died. You know, it could have been that. It could have been that. Yeah. Yeah, Boa became Empress at 18 is from what we can infer from, well, she became Warlord at age 18, which we could also assume it was also mentioned like through like the inductive or deductive reasoning, whatever, because she became a Warlord at 18. And the reason she became a warlord is because when she became Empress, the government was, because of Gloriosa and Shakuyaku's exploits as pirates, you know, they was like, okay, we're just going to automatically make the new Empress of the Kuja a warlord. And so therefore it would line up with that. Yeah. Yep. There's no time to meet Dragon, have Luffy, rule Amazon Lily, and also die of love sickness. Well, I guess Tritoma's not Luffy's mom then. Debunked. I'm actually okay with that. All right, and there could have been, I mean, like, we're probably going to know at least passively who the guy was that she fell in love with. It'll probably be mentioned at some point, but she never pursued him. You know, that's the whole idea. Amazon Lily was skipped over in Kuma's flashback. Did we see a scene in the manga of him going to Amazon Lily? I mean, he's a guy, so I don't think he would have been allowed on Amazon Lily. Unless he stopped over to visit Ivankov first, really quickly. Yeah. Do you want to see... Yeah, here we go. Oda, of course, has drawn all of the warlords gender bent. So there you go. So maybe he did go to Amazon Lily, stopped over by Ivankov, and you know, there we go. Did the Emporio female hormones really quick. And then we had female Kuma. And then he went over to Amazon Lily. Hey, do you have a cure for Bonnie? No? Okay. And then left. And then, yeah, there you go. Yeah. Moria is creepy. Moria is like an old grandma that's like, hello there, dearie. That is disturbing. But Mihawk and Doflamingo though. Mihawk and Doflamingo though. Who's next to Moria? That's Hancock on the right. Now, you know, she would have been, this is her gender bent as a guy. And then Crocodile on the left. So, yeah. Yeah. So there we go. There we go. Does Crocodile look a bit like Tritoma with a scar? Well, I don't know. Hold on. Let's compare. I mean, by the way, the ages don't match up at all because 44 years ago, Crocodile would be in like 2 years old. So the ages doesn't match up at all. There's no way that Crocodile is Tritoma. But yeah, no. I don't think that's a thing. Do they retain their height? I don't know. Oda never revealed that. Hancock kind of looks like Ace. Yeah, a little bit. Definitely for sure. Yeah. Boa looks like Shanks. I'd say more Ace than Shanks. Yeah. Yeah, we talked about Silver Axe. Silver Axe in Arouge was like the first thing we talked about because Silver Axe just had this epic intro, right? But yeah, now we know all of the Rocks pirates that have been like name dropped before, like where we saw in the background. Unless I'm sure there might be more, but in terms of like all of them, we got that now. The only one is Gil Bastard that we haven't really seen directly. Gil we've seen in like Silhouette at God Valley in that one panel, and we also saw way in the background in the manga, and we saw his zombie, but we haven't seen him like in full view, like actually having like dialogue. But yeah, other than that, we have the Rocks pirates here. We got Captain Rox D. Zebek, Edward Newgate, Shiki, Buckingham Stussy, Don Marlin, Wang Zhi, or Ochoku, Gonzui, Charlotte Linlin, Kai Dio, John. I love how it's just all these names and just John. Gloriosa, Stroisen, Gil Bastard, Kyo, and Barbell. There we go. John. Oh, by the way, another thing people have talked about. Let's talk about John a little bit. Nobody ever talks about John. Everybody's always losing their shit over Wang or Gil or Kyo. Silver Axe stocks go way high up. We need to rank the Rocks pirates. We need to do that. Actually, I might do that in this stream. We might just pull up a tier list. Who's for an impromptu tier list video? Because there's not very many. There's only like 15 of them. But yeah, we could do a Rocks pirate crew ranking really quick. Barbell is Sunbell's brother. Ooh, that's right, Sunbell. I'm going to do a video about Roger's crew. I have like a project folder ready to go with Roger's crew, like all of their concept art and everything. Yeah, Roger Pirates right here. Sunbell is right here. Yeah. Sunbell related to Barbell, perhaps? Ooh, I don't know. I don't know. We might do the tier list now. I could just do the tier list later. That might actually be better as a separate video because I'm going to be on vacation. Not vacation. I'm going to be like gone for like next weekend. I won't be here. So that might be better to do that, tier list instead of breaking it. Let's break it up. Yeah. All right. What was I looking up? Rox's crew and then John. Yeah. Captain John of the John Pirates. There he is right here. Okay. So John seemed in this chapter, he was talking a lot about money. Like he was just like, I don't care. Let's just get money first. Let's get all that money. Now, Captain John was mentioned to have a great treasure. Like Buggy was after his treasure. Okay. So I wonder if like the whole idea why the Rocks crew was formed was because they wanted to get their hands on like a one big like money making scheme. So that's probably why John joined up. So what if John ended up making out with all of the money? He got all the actual cash, like the revenue, and escaped, hid it somewhere, and then that was how, like, Buggy learned about it because, Buggy was part of, like, Roger's crew, and then, they fought with the Rocks pirates at certain points. So what if he, like, ran off with all the money they got? Yeah. John's treasure is just that really good booze. John was the Nami of the Rocks crew. Not Buckingham Stussy. John was the Nami. Okay, gotcha. Didn't Loki say he had a way of beating the Holy Knights a few chapters ago? I think it's just like he didn't know how to fight them when they initially showed up, and he was chained to a fucking tree. But after Scopper tells them about, like, he's talking about Conqueror's Haki with Luffy and Zoro and Sanji, Loki's like, it clicks, and he's like, oh, wait. Yeah, if I try that, it would probably work, right? Like, that's kind of like, it's like a moment where he always had the ability to do it, but he just didn't know how. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, just use Conquerors this way. And he's like, oh, shit. All right, I know exactly what to do now. I got it. I think that's the idea with Loki. And he was chained to a giant tree. So, like, what was he supposed to do, right? So who is the Yonko before Shanks? I think the only right answer is Silver Axe at this point. John's treasure is the friends we made along the way. No, that's Woonon's treasure. Remember Woonon? Yeah, so in the first One Piece movie, if you ever want the big reveal of the journey was the treasure, friendship was the treasure the entire time. If you ever want that to be the big reveal, go watch the first One Piece movie. It's only fucking 50 minutes long. They're looking for this guy's treasure, the pirate Woonin. And at the end of the movie, they find his treasure. Wow, check that out. 60 million berries. Wow. You know you don't want to mess with that guy. You know, for the East Blue, that's actually really impressive. Yeah. He was like the Roger of the East Blue. I mean, I know Roger's from the East Blue, but yeah. At the end of the movie, they go into a room and they find his corpse and they find his flag, and that's it. That's all that's in the room, and everything's on the doors like the real treasure was friendship the entire time. And it's like that's the reveal. So there you go. If you want that outcome, just go watch the first movie. Remember the inflation too. That's true. Yeah. That's the Roger we have at home. Yeah. That's like 60 billion with inflation. Well, okay, wait a minute. Can we calculate inflation in the One Piece world? Because, like, Dorian Broggy's bounty goes up from 100 million to, like, 1.8 billion over the course of a century. Now, granted, they also did other things. It wasn't just the inflation. I mean, they also, like, attacked Egghead and shit and warred with the government. So, like, yeah, but, like, that inflation is absurd. Woonin, more like, boo! Nen. Does One Piece inflation affect the blues or just the Grand Line? I imagine it's global. It's a global. The berry system, I'm assuming, is the centralized currency of the world government. I'm assuming. So it's the one currency. I mean, maybe if you go to like obviously there's X-Toll in the sky. Amazon Lily actually has a different currency. I think it's called Goal or Gore. Or something like that. They have their own currency. There's a few islands that aren't allied with the government that have their own currency. Elbaf maybe has its own currency. But we got a $50 super chat. Hold on a minute here. $50 here. What do you think about this idea? Rock's 2 devil fruits was the Yami Yami no Mi, or potentially Moria's fruit to revive the giant frozen army. Or hear me out, it was the Gura Gura and Whitebeard ate it after Good God Valley. Maybe Rock's out in his sworn. Okay. So the Yami Yami makes sense, and people have said that because Blackbeard wanted the Yami Yami, and he was like dead set on getting the Yami Yami. Or potentially Mortia's fruit to revive the giant frozen army. That depends on if using the Kage Kage no Mi to bring back the zombies with the shadows, does that retain their memories? And I brought this up in the chapter. Thanks for the 50, by the way. But I brought this up in the chapter of like, oh yeah, everything's good with me. Thanks, man. Would Ryuma have remembered being Ryuma at Thriller Bark? Like, could they have went up to Ryuma and asked him, like, who are you? Tell me stories about your life. Who were your parents? Where did you grow up? What did you do in your life? Would Ryuma, as a zombie animated by Brooke's shadow, be able to tell them that stuff? I don't know. It depends, because it's like they're like their corpses, but like the soul or the shadow is a different person's. You know what I mean? He knew exactly what his sword was called, true, but like, are the memories kind of spotty, is what I'm saying. Or there could be a different kind of devil fruit we haven't seen yet. A different devil fruit that allows you to just speak with the dead. Maybe doesn't necessarily bring back the dead, because that would be Brooks, but a devil fruit that allows you communicating with the dead. That would be wild. What do you think the Ace sword is? So let's try to think about, like, okay, so Roger left the crew. He probably took Ace with him. If he didn't, he probably left it with Rayleigh. Rayleigh has multiple swords. If you ever look, like, he uses a sword that's different in the flashback than one that he uses against Kizaru during Sabaody. So I'm assuming either Rayleigh has it for safekeeping. Like, Roger's like, I'm going to die, matey. I won't be needing this anymore. And so Rayleigh's probably just keeping track of it. Or he left and went and hooked up with Rouge, and then he hid Ace somewhere else. But I don't think he would have brought it with him to go see Rouge. I could see him as, like, handing in his sword as, like, a symbolic thing of, like, I'm done being a pirate now. I could see him leaving it on Laugh-Tale. Yeah, he could also have just left it on Laugh-Tale. He could have taken out his sword, like, our journey's over, matey, and then plants it on Laugh-Tale and then left. I could see that, too. If Harald ate the Nika fruit, he could have he could have wielded the giant Elbaf. Yeah, that's like, that's a good idea. The giant sword sticking out of Elbaf. The only people that are big enough to wield that fucking thing would be the shadow monsters at Thriller Bark. I think those are the only creatures that are big enough to wield a sword like that. Because it's not only enough to be as big as that sword, you have to be bigger than the sword to wield it, right? Like, you can't be like comparable size. Like, this is a big sword, right? It's like the size of a giant tree. So if Harald ate a devil fruit that made him so big, like, he would have to be like 5,000, maybe, no, bigger than that. He would have to be Zunisha size. But then again, the original Zunisha size. He'd have to be like 20,000 meters tall to wield that sword. The sword will cut the red line. It probably could. Yeah. Yeah, that would have to be, like, because, like, think about how big Elbaf is. Think about, like, let me just pull up an image of Elbaf here. Elbaf! Like, look how big Elbaf is here. Hold on. And, like, look how much distance is just between the primordial realm and the sun realm. Like, just that gap on the bottom. That is already supposed to be, like, the implication is you fall from that, even if you're a giant, you're kind of dead. Like Loki was the special exception because he's Loki. He's, like, super strong. But, like, that's, like, several thousand meters down. Like, just, like, when Scopper got hit by Gunko and went down, and then Chopper ran after him and was, like, trying to save his ass, right? Like, even that was, like, that's several thousand meters. Okay? So, then from the sun layer to the heaven layer, and then from the top of the heaven layer, like, Elbaf's got to be, like, the size of the red line or something comparable. By the way, also, Rox did say in the last chapter that Elbaf is essential or is connected to bringing the Holy Land down. What if, because Elbaf is the treasure tree Adam and the mother tree Eve is where Marie-Joie is, what if they're connected? Like the roots go down into the planet and, like, intermingle at the core. Does that make sense? No, but it's One Piece. So, like, grab a piece of paper here. Oh, here's Shanks' tattoo. Like, okay, so try to follow me here, okay? This is an ordinary circle. All right, are you with me? Wait, hold on. Whoa. Slow down, Egghead. Slow down, Egghead. All right? Are you with me so far? Are we with me so far? We can stop for a moment here, okay? Just so everybody catches up to speed here. Arguable. What? I'm lost. That's actually not a bad circle. Did you know there's circle competitions? There's freehand circle competitions where people will literally get together, take a piece of chalk or a marker or whatever, and just who can draw the most geometrically perfect circle, and you win prizes for it. That's a pretty cool fucking life skill. That's pretty neat. Way too technical. All right. So here is instructions unclear. I'm now missing a foot. All right, so this is a circle. This is an ordinary circle, all right? Okay. So let's assume this is the planet, and on this side of the planet we have, like, we have Elbaf. Let's just draw Elbaf over here. All right. Okay. All right, so there's Elbaf. There's little Elbaf right there. looks kind of like a mushroom, but like there's Elbaf, right? There's the father tree Adam. Okay, all right. Then what if on the opposite side, which is where the red line is, which this would be kind of getting close to the other side of the planet. They're not quite at the other side of the red line yet, but they're getting pretty close. You know what I mean? Like, so they gotta be at least close to the red line, right? So, like, here's the top of the red line. And here's, like, Marijois. We'll just draw that. Like, here's the top of the red line. Here's Marijois. Here's Castle Pangea, right? All right. And so the Mother Tree Eve stretches all the way down to Fishman Island. And so we haven't seen it in full view. So the Mother Tree is, like, probably enclosed in the red line. That's the only way it makes sense. Okay? So the Mother Tree is part of the red line. And so the tree goes all the way down, right? And then let's say like Fishman Island is like down here, you know, like, okay, so it's like 10,000 meters down or whatever. This is not to scale, you know, but like eventually, what if it just becomes like this? Like there's just roots of these two trees that are just like branching out like crazy inside. It kind of looks like I'm drawing a fucking eyeball now, but like, it's like these roots of these trees are just, like, growing like crazy. And then, like, they reach, like, the core of the planet. And that's where they're getting their energy from, like, the core. And that's why they're, like, growing like crazy. Once again, does that make sense? No. But, like, there we go. There we go. That's a One Piece theory for you right there. I don't... This is almost like, okay, everybody... So, when a man and a woman love each other very much, you have the sperm and the egg cell, and they mingle together to form a zygote. Just like, that's kind of what this is like looking like here at this point. But yeah. Maybe something like that. I don't know. Looks like electricity. Yeah. Ooh, biology class. Yeah. Do you reckon that Barbell of the Rocks Pirates is somehow related to Sunbell? That's like, it's been mentioned before. Sure, why not? Why not? Barbell and Sunbell, best friends, brothers, decided to go different ways in life. They became pirates, but for different crews. Kind of just like Andre and... So did you know this is such an Oda thing. This is such a background thing that like is fascinating. But there's characters in One Piece. One is named Andre, and he was a member of the Whitebeard Pirates back in the day. Now he has his own crew. And then there's Condre. And Andre and Condre are brothers that one is a Marine and one is a pirate. It's so cool because you would assume like Oda would save that plot line for like a main character group or something. Like we find out Garp has a brother that's a pirate this entire time or some shit. Or Akainu has a brother that's a pirate or something, right? Like you'd think that would be like, but no, the brothers that have been torn apart, one is a pirate, one is a Marine, is like two background characters that we don't even really know anything about beyond that. Yeah. What if Elbaf was Biblo's home ever since it was a regular tree and, you know, it just gigantifies? Yeah, like Biblo is just a regular owl and just lived in a tree and then one day. Well, it's also mentioned that the primordial world is the first world. Like, it is like the first piece of land that ever existed. Like, if we're going to take that literally, then that would make sense. Like the first piece of land on a planet of a super ocean, because like our planet was originally like mostly ocean, and then land began to emerge, and then, you know, over the time multiple supercontinents split up. Like there was like Gondwana and all these other supercontinents. Pangea even comes, like Pangea is not even the first supercontinent. That one comes later, all right? And maybe that was just the first one, and then there was a tree that just grew like crazy for the last 10,000 years or some shit. Right. How many supercontinents were there on this planet? I know Gondwana was one. I know Pangea was the most recent one. Let's see here. Let's see. See, large landmass, remnants of Gondwana. Like, yeah. Like there was like 5. Yeah. Yeah, we have Valbara. Oh, that's cool. Valbara. I am from the land of Valbara. Which that becomes a city later in Samaria. Kenorland, Columbia, Rodinia. Oh, Rodinia. I've heard that before. Rodinia. That was in some kind of fantasy world or something like that before. They probably took that from that. I mean, that's probably where it comes from. But like, I remember reading a manga or an anime or a fantasy novel where Rodinia was a place, and so that's probably where that came from. You know, the supercontinent of Rodinia, Panotia, Pangea. Where's Gondwana? I think. Oh, maybe 2 of them merged together to form Gondwana. I think maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Valbara sounds Viking as hell. That was the first one. 3.6 to 2.8 billion years ago, possibly Earth's first supercontinent, formed the Archean Eon. Evidence is sparse. Okay, cool. Yeah. Do you think Zunisha was Domi reversied in the war? Possibly, because Zunisha does feel bad about some promise and something it failed to do. So I feel like Zunisha was either tricked or Domi reversied, or could have been tricked into being Domi reversied. We don't really know. Like, the idea of Domi reversing somebody is like, all, like Eam just has to kind of just Domi reversey, whoosh, pulls out a book, and then you're Domi reversied. Let's see, she did blow off Broggy's hand, so maybe you gotta cause physical damage in order to activate Domi reversey. But then we didn't see that with Dory, though. And then everybody else, when they're just standing in between each other, they get flipped automatically. So it's a really broken power. Pulls out a book, pulls out a gun. Yeah, the devil shotgun. I never would have expected the devil shotgun. It's like fucking Devil May Cry all of a sudden here. Never let it out, never let it out. All right, I was going to pull up a Domi Reversey, Emu Attacks. Is this the one where I made all the Yu-Gi-Oh cards? Yeah. Yeah. Shotgun! Emu's Grimoire. The Abyss. I actually went to YugiOhCardMaker.com and actually did make effects for all these. They're all broken as hell. This one is a ritual spell that allows you to summon a God's Knight or Gorosei monster. You must also sacrifice your lifespan and accept Emu as your lord and master in order to activate this card. What was the Grimoire? This card can only be played if you have an Emu or a card that has Emu material. Hand deck or graveyard that has Emu in the card text. If you control all of your opponent's monsters, you win. You control the world now. Congratulations. Yeah. Monster by 2000. Strain your opponent's side of the field. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was fun. I remember I made the Yu-Gi-Oh cards for that one. Yeah. Do you think Emu is friends with Bill Cipher? Oh, probably. They probably hang out every now and then. Yeah. I was really, I reached a thing where I missed an opportunity in the review. So when we had that scene where Shaki shows up and she's like, so, like, Oda literally depicts Shaki as being so damn attractive, she's like breaking like reality. Okay, so I made that joke like from Billy and Mandy when Mandy smiled and reality shattered, and everyone's like, reality's falling apart, you know? And there's one scene where that crow comes on in the armchair and is like, if you've ever seen Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, this makes sense. If you haven't, this is like, so like what? There's what? Huh? It's fine. It's okay. It was a cartoon from the early 2000s. But there's the scene where the crow or the raven is just like, you fools! You've messed with the natural order! Like, I've realized I could have put an image of Eam there. I could have put an image of Eam as the one saying that. Like, you fools, you've messed with the natural order! Like, That would have been great. Yeah. Yeah, Mandy smiles. She does. And it breaks fucking reality. And it's such a great moment. It's hilarious. Yeah. What cartoon? This is The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy by Maxwell Adams. It aired from 2004, I think, to like 2007 or 8. Yeah, there was a lot of really good cartoons that aired when I was like leaving elementary school. I was like in elementary school going into middle school, and then almost like on cue, like as soon as I started going into high school and I'm not really watching cartoons anymore, all of the cartoons like Codename Kids Next Door, Billy and Mandy, they all just kind of started they were like ended there, and then like the new wave of cartoons like Adventure Time and Chowder and the Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack, and I didn't really watch those that much, and they started up then. Yeah. Cartoon Network at its peak. Yeah. Ed and Eddie was good. Ed and Eddie kind of stopped a few years prior, and they did the Big Picture Show. I think in around 2007, 2008 was the Big Picture Show, and then they ended it there. Yeah. I hated Chowder even as a kid. I watched it like a little bit. Like I was like 13, 14, so I was like a freshman in high school, and it's not really cool to watch cartoon. I love Ben 10 though. I watch Ben 10 all the time. And then Alien Force was basically like anime the way they took that series. They treated that series very seriously. The writing in that series was impeccable. The animation was on point. It wasn't like overly like childish. It was like they were basically making an anime with Alien Force and Ultimate Alien. And then when they went to Omniverse, they went back to like the more cartoony style of it. And I'm just like, no. Like that, yeah. Like Teen Titans, the original. Oh yeah, Teen Titans also ended around then. Around like 2007, 2008 is when Teen Titans ended. Same deal. Same kind of animation style. Yeah. Never watched Generator Rex. I feel like I would have liked it, though. I know Generator Rex and Ben 10 did a crossover at one point. Yeah. Code Lyoko, I watched that. We're getting off on a tangent already. There's other stuff to talk about in the chapter. All right, what else? Stroyzen got fat. That happened. Let's see. Kaido got beat up by rocks. We talked about John. Okay, so... okay, so Rocks had a plan. The plan was not God Valley. God Valley was not what Rocks wanted to do, all right? God Valley was the government snuck into Hachinosu, stole their shit, brought it to God Valley, and then Rocks had to go to get it back. So God Valley threw a wrench in the whole plan for Rocks. Rocks here says at the end of the chapter, I'll take you to the World Summit. Let me look up what he says in the Japanese, the official viz. I cannot read Japanese. I can read a little bit. I'll show you the peak of the world. All right. Actually, people have said Garling. Some people have been thrown out. What if one of the Rocks pirates was a traitor that was working for the government? Because if Drake was a Marine, and if Diaz Barrels originally was a Marine, and if Kyo, if we're going along, he's like, oh, he kind of looks like Drake. He's got the X. What if Kyo was Drake's grandfather that was also a Marine that was undercover as a mercenary? What if, because like no normal person is sneaking into Hachinosu and stealing not just the Ua Ua no Mi, but the Paw fruit. Like sneaking into Pirate Island, stealing 2 devil fruits and managing to get away. That's not just like, yeah, let's send Cypher Pole 3 to handle that. No, like even Cypher Pole 0 would have trouble with that, right? Like, you know, maybe if you send if you sent an admiral disguised as a You send an admiral disguised as a pirate. Zephyr kind of looks like Silver Axe. What if? What if? I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. Q can mean 9. Sure. Unless he has purple hair. All right, well, we're just going to have to wait to see Zephyr. If Kyo has purple hair, I guess we'll have to see. He does have Marine vibes, not going to lie. Yeah. Okay, at the very least, they could not send a normal soldier. They couldn't send a normal Marine. Not even like, if they even sent a rear admiral or a vice admiral, they would probably, unless it was Garp, they would get absolutely destroyed on Pirate Island. Like, they had to sneak past the Rock's crew. So either they had a Devil Fruit ability that helped them infiltrate, like they had the Sube no Mi, or like the Clear Fruit, or if they had like a Perona's ability, or they had some ability that allowed them to sneak in a place, steal shit, and leave without being attacked, like, or undetected. They had something like that, maybe. But other than that, they had to be pretty strong and pretty skilled in order to get in there, get the Devil Fruits, and leave and make it back to God Valley. So it could have been Garling, could have been a member of the God's Knights, or it could have been a Marine that's like an Admiral level, or it could have been like Cypherpool Zero or some shit like that. Or it could have been somebody that's undercover. The original sword was an axe. Oh, that's cool. I like that idea. Yeah. An admiral on Pirate Island? Kuzan. Back to the tree theory you drew. What if the roots that spread out end up sprouting other Adamwood trees? Potential theory video? Back to the tree. So I already did a video, I think, I did 2 videos on trees. Sometimes it's like, even with the Tritoma video, it's like, is there enough new information for me to make another video about this? But maybe, yeah. Because I think I did talk about that. Because that idea with the roots, like, in the core, I've definitely mentioned that before in another video. But maybe if it's enough, like, I sit down and workshop it enough, maybe we can come up with that. Yeah, we can come up with a new video idea. Let's just go through super chats here really quick. I'm traveling across Japan for a month. Any spots I should check out? So we went to, well, when we were there, we only stayed in Tokyo, really. We stayed in Chiba. We went to Kamakura as kind of like a day trip. We saw the giant Buddha, and we went to a temple that was really old. We went to a temple that was like, let me just look up the name of the temple really quick. It was a really fascinating temple. It was like over 1,000 years old. Temple in Kamakura. It was... Let's see, Hachimangu. Yeah, Hachimangu Temple. Surugako Hachimangu. Yeah, it's a crazy thing because that temple, if you read about it, it was built in like the year like 1000 or like 1100 or something like that. And the Emperor of Japan at one point was actually like assassinated on the steps. During like a snowy night. He was like leaving the inner temple to go down these long stairs, and the stairs are still there, and a dude just came out, I think it was like his brother or something, came out from behind one of the statues and just stabbed him in the fucking snow and died. So you're walking up the steps and you're just like, yeah, here's where one of the emperors of Japan 1,000 years ago bled out. Like, holy shit. Yeah. Anyway, that was a pretty cool temple. I would recommend it. Yeah, it was built in 1060. 1063. Do you think Rox actually has a gang of kids in the world? His Genghis Khan? Oh yeah, it's like 20% of everybody in the world can trace their lineage back to Rox. Rox did get around. Like, we can at least know that. We can infer that. Maybe. Rox was like, well, if I can't be king of the world, one of my offspring will. You know? It's like King Robert Baratheon with all of his bastards in Game of Thrones. Like, they're all over the place. There's a Gendry out there somewhere. Would you do another video like the Kobe manga video about other characters or fan-made characters like strong revolutionary swordsmen? Probably not going to do videos about like fan-made characters, but I was going to do another video about Gion and Chaton, who are the vice admirals that are Peach Rabbit and Brown Pig. But I already did a video last year where I kind of covered them pretty in-depthly. So it's like, okay, the 12 Zodiac, the future Admiral videos, because like there's 12 Zodiac animals, and those Zodiac animals are represented in the Marines. Like there's a dog, there's a pheasant, there's a monkey, there's a goat, because Sengoku has a goat, there's a snake, because Smoker has a technique called White Snake, and their colors and animals, Fujitora is the tiger, Green Bull is the bull, you know, so that's kind of the idea. And I mentioned Gion and Chaton there. But yeah, I might make videos about like other characters that aren't like spotlighted as much. Like I want to make a Gaimon video at some point. I will make a Gaimon video. Actually, I might make the Gaimon video this week because it's a break week and all that. But yeah, Hiyori equals Gloriosa with Emu. I'm pretty sure you must. Probably not. No. Nah. What if Elbaf was Biblo's home? We answered that one. Yeah, it could have just been an owl living on a tree and then it grew like crazy. Answered that one. Why doesn't Blackbeard have the obligatory fishman on his crew? Maybe he's a fishman this whole time. Oh, that's right. Or maybe Blackbeard just has a thing against fishmen. What if Garp, when talking to Blackbeard or Kuzan, ends up giving the rest of the Rock's backstory at God Valley, and that's where we learn the plan? Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know if we're going to just jump right into God Valley unless, if Harald is relevant for God Valley, we'll probably see God Valley. If he's not relevant, just like the Odin flashback, we're probably not going to see God Valley. We're just going to cut to the next part that's relevant for Harald. Yeah. But we're still sticking with rocks right now, so I feel like this is going to come up like, Oda's like, okay, I have to give you this information involving Rocks and his crew and Hachinosu, or else the backstory with Harald is just not going to make any sense, all right? So something has to be coming up with Harald and Rocks where he asks him to join, like, one more time or some shit like that, and something happens, right? Like, there has to be something like that. Silver Axe got the coldest intro aside from Rocks. I agree. Would you do a video making One Piece characters or a crew that fit in the world like custom OCs? Yeah, I'm not going to do any video about custom OCs. Yeah, sorry about that. Do you like the theory that Tritoma fell for Dragon, but Dragon chose other girl like Roger, and instead of leaving, she stayed, which died of heartbreak? Yeah, so Dragon, like maybe Tritoma fell in love with Dragon, but Dragon went with somebody else, and that was actually Luffy's mom, and then Tritoma stayed on Amazon Lily, and she died. She didn't pursue her love. The love does not need to accept you necessarily. Like Gloriosa never accepted Roger. Roger never accepted Gloriosa, I should say. But Gloriosa's not dead. She didn't die from love sickness. She did leave to go pursue her love, and even with Luffy and Boa, Luffy even straight up tells Boa straight up, like, I'm not getting married to you. Very blunt, but Boa doesn't die immediately. She's like, oh no, she doesn't die. She's still okay. She's alive. As long as she pursued the love initially to like leave, she doesn't. And you can always come back later. That's the thing. Like, Gloriosa might have died if she just stayed on the ship. She went out to go find Roger, but then she could have returned and become an empress, but she didn't. She chose to like stay away from her people. Yeah. Favorite and most overrated historical figure. Oh, that's a lot. Most overrated. Okay, so I'm going to say Plato. And the reason why I say Plato is he's a brilliant guy, brilliant philosopher, but I think because he's regarded as like the father of philosophy and he's lived so long ago, people look at Plato as if he's like a fucking demigod, and it's like everything that came out of that guy's mouth was like just absolute brilliance beyond every compare. He came up with some cool ideas and shit. I like the allegory of the cave and crap, all right? But he was a dude. He was a person just like everybody else, all right? Like that's the least I view it, like Plato and stuff. Aristotle too. Aristotle was wrong about a lot of shit. We only have 5 senses. No, we have more. We have more than 5, Aristotle. But yeah, I think it's like, well, Plato was like the most brilliant guy ever because he lived a long time ago and he thought about a lot of shit. Like, yeah, he did. He did think about a lot of shit, but Plato is amazing. Totally underrated. Yeah. Socrates, we don't even know if Socrates fucking existed. He never wrote anything down, and Plato really enjoyed, like, all we know about Socrates is from Plato's writings, and Plato really loved to do the thing where he was like, I'm gonna write like a parable or something. That's where Atlantis comes from, right? Like, there's this parable of a great civilization called Atlantis that, collapsed under its own power as a parable, as like an analogy, and people take that to mean literally, no, he was writing about an actual place that really existed. It's pronounced Socrates, actually, teching. But yeah, Socrates didn't write anything down, so all we know really about him is like the writings of Plato. Like, he probably was a real person, but maybe he wasn't, And my most favorite historical person. So that changes. Like, I don't like sit down and like, this is my most favorite person in history. It really just depends on like who I'm like reading about at the particular moment. There is a woman named Hypatia, that lived. She was like a neo-Platonist, I think, and that came later. And so it wasn't like during Plato's time. This was like later. But she was like a famous, not really famous because not a lot of people know about her, or Hypatia. And she was like like a really highly skilled philosopher during her day. It's just that nobody kind of remembers her. But I was reading about her recently. I wouldn't say like she's my favorite of all time, but I've been reading about her recently. Still don't know how to pronounce her name, though. It's an old name. Hypatia. Yeah. And there was also, oh, I had it and then I lost it. The fuck else? Wait, hold on a minute. Oh, yeah, because like I also read a lot about Egypt and stuff like that. And so there was a pharaoh named, I think it was Horemheb, that came after Akhenaten, that came after King Tut, and actually was responsible partially for like scrubbing the histories of like King Tut and Akhenaten because of what they did and everything. Well, King Tut kind of got the short end of that because he was the one that actually brought the religion back to Egypt. Akhenaten was the one that removed it. But Horemheb is fascinating because he actually started as a commoner and rose all the way into general and then became the pharaoh of fucking Egypt. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. Like the idea that you could start as a commoner, and it was very rare. Didn't happen often, but it could happen where you could rise through the ranks and become the literal pharaoh of Egypt. Yeah. Socrates was the one who wrote, "We are all just dust in the wind, dude." Yeah. King Tut is cool. It's just King Tut, like, didn't do much. King Tut was just, like, he became pharaoh, and he's like, okay, you know all that shit my dad did where, like, he's, like, trying to depower all of the temples and remove all the gods from everything and trying to get everybody to worship Aten? Let's go back to the way it was before that. And so Tutankhamun changes his name to Tutankhamun, who becomes King Tut, and then died pretty young. Like, he died apparently when he was around 18, 19 years old. He, when we excavated his tomb, I don't know if excavation, when we found his tomb, discovered his tomb, when Howard Carter discovered his tomb, his leg was pretty mangled, and he had, he had a lot of, like, contusions and stuff, so it was like his leg was fucked. So, like, he probably got into some kind of chariot accident or something, and that's probably how he died, probably from, like, an infection or gangrene or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Didn't Tut get murdered by an advisor? I don't know. I'd have to go back and see exactly how he, like, because there's not just one way. Like, he definitively died this way. Exactly this. Nah, you got confused with the Mummy plot. Ah, okay. I've never seen the Mummy. I've never seen the Mummy with Brendan Fraser. Yeah. Maybe I should. Maybe I should go watch it finally. I kind of stay away from like the Hollywood Egypt movies because I'm like, they're not going to get it right. They're going to fuck a bunch of shit up. I don't even want to see it, you know? But anyway, where are we at? We're about an hour and 20 minutes in. We'll probably be ending it soon. It's noon already. I got to eat lunch, and then I got to head over and do some stuff at a friend's place today. I got to help them install a TV mount and set up a grill, and then we're going to have dinner. Yeah. You're missing out, Teching. Really? Is the Brendan Fraser Mummy movie really that good? Maybe I'll finally check it out. Maybe I'll finally watch it. Ah, man, I feel like I'm going to watch that movie and I'll be like, no, that's wrong. No, that's wrong. Nah, they fucked that up. It's like, that's not that. Oh, dude. Yeah. But yeah, we'll go through the super chats here. Let's see. Let's just go back up here to the top here. All right. Do you think Silver Axe has Aruge's Devil Fruit? Yeah. I answered that one. Is there a non-zero chance Gloriosa's Dragon's Mother? Okay, I guess because the timelines don't conflict with that, I suppose, yes, that could be the case. Did you do a podcast with Manu? Yes, I did in Japan back in April when I was there. I don't think he's uploaded it yet. Not really sure what's up with that, but I did film one, yes. It was really fun. Hey, Tekking, what are your thoughts on the idea of Rock's sword possessing the Guru Guru no Mi? Yeah, so Rock's has, what is it? Yeah, here it is. Rock's, like, some people said that, like, oh, well, Devil Fruits having objects is like a new piece of technology that was mentioned during Alabasta. The technology, I mean, could have existed beforehand. I mean, Rock's figured it out and nobody else could. But a paramecia eating a Devil Fruit, or an object eating a paramecia, that one is like, I'm not really sure. okay? Because it's only been zones up until now, because zones maybe are different than, like they can turn the animal spirits and the object can eat. I don't know how it works. But Vegapunk specifically said I had to develop green blood in order to inject that into the Seraphim to get, like, the paramecia powers, like the dice fruit or the love fruit, okay? So that, I think, came later. So it's possible his sword could have a mythical zone or a zone ability that could do all that kind of shit. Because mythical zones kind of give you, in addition to that, they sort of give you a, what's it called? Like a paramecia ability on top of the zone ability, right? Your chapter reviews are great, bro. You should definitely come to India sometime for an anime event. Could you at some point bring up the UN and various nations are pushing regarding our anonymity? So I looked up, I saw recently that there was the situation in, I don't know if this is related to that. I know there was the situation in Indonesia recently where I don't know much about this. I haven't, like, read enough about this to, like, really talk about it. And this isn't like a political channel or whatever like that. But, yeah, I did see in Indonesia, they're, like, raising the straw hat flag as, like, a size of rebellion or whatever. I haven't read that much into it, though. I just saw that as, like, sort of like just a meme on Facebook or whatever. Like, that's happening in Indonesia right now. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm not sure if that's what that's referencing. But yeah, we don't really discuss, like, politics and stuff. Like, I'm not, like, a political commentator or anything. This is more about just, like, One Piece, right? Now that you've finished animal facts, we talked about that before. We'll probably do mineral next. Maybe might do mineral facts at the very end as just, like, a fun little thing, or maybe not. I don't know. I really don't feel like going back through, like, A through Z with everything as just, like, that's always a monumental thing to accomplish. But the tree things, the tree stuff, that didn't last that long, so maybe we could do that again. As long as I don't do multiple for each one, I think we would be okay. I actually guesstimated that Shaki was Kuja Empress for 20 years. From shortly after 1156. Yeah, okay. So the timeline is weird here with Shaki. We need to find out how long she was a Kuja Empress. And Oda will reveal that, of course, at some point. We would assume. Because, like, I think we're probably going to have to learn about how, like, I feel like this is going to be relevant for Dragon or Shanks' backstory or something. Like, we're going to find out stuff happening, like, during that era, like, 20-something years ago. Right around the time Dragon found Laugh-Tale, there was other shit going on. Probably something like that. Considering geography is everything, we're getting massive info on rocks. How about a rocks fact series? Yeah, that was the mineral stuff. Yeah, so we might do that. Imagine randomly getting King's backstory. We got to find out about the Lunarians at some point, man. Let's see. I answered that one. Tritoma loves Shanks. I answered that one. Gloriosa feeling jealous. Could have ran into Rox's crew. Let's see here. I answered that one. I don't think I answered this one. 1126. Before Yasop sinks the Bartolomeo ship, he calls Shanks soft. Did Yasop somehow hear that? No, I don't think he heard that. I think it was just like they let him go, and Yasop was like, and I don't know if Yasop did that of his own accord or if Shanks ordered him to, either way. But, like, I think Yasop was like, we can't just let them go. Because if we let them go, that's what they were worried about. That Bartolomeo's going to go around and tell people that, like, Shanks is actually a big softy. He actually let me go. And it's like, yeah, we can't have that for our reputation. So that's why Yasop blew up their fucking ship. Right? So I don't think it was like Yasop heard him. I think it was like, if we let him go, he's going to tell other people that we let him go. Right? And it's just like, I'll take care of this. And, like, that's what had to happen. Right? Silver Axe is Drake's granddad. We talked about that. Rock's beating up Kaido explains views on the rookies. Yeah, probably. That does give you some ideas. He was the rookie at the time. He was the apprentice pirate. He was the guy that had to mop the poop deck, as it were. I think Kujas can give birth to boys, but they dump them with the father, and the narrator assumes they can only have girls. Yeah, maybe this is maybe not a completely unbiased narrator here. You know what I mean? Rox mentions that the fruit on Elbaf would only show its true power if Harald used it. Thoughts? Yeah, I think just probably like maybe like an ancient evil Oni giant form, or just making Harald huge, or Loki as well. Yeah. Answered that one. Okay, I think that brings us back to where we were. Yeah, that brings us back to that. Okay. I meant internet anonymity, including YouTube ID. Oh, is that like a thing where they're trying to do yeah, I've heard, not about maybe this specific thing, but like everybody in like certain countries, like I know China is like, in fact, I was just watching something about this the other day about like China's like internet and how it works there, where it's like really trying to like limit it to certain websites and search engines so the Chinese government can kind of keep track of you if there's like something like that kind of going on in other countries with like YouTube ID, or maybe that was like a global thing. I haven't read much about that. Interesting. I'll have to look into that. Are we getting new bounties after Elbaf? Yeah, we didn't get any after Egghead, so I'm assuming after Elbaf we're going to get maybe something. I would like the Strides to get one more bounty increase before we go to, you know, the final part of the story. Do you think we'll ever find anything out about the snake necks? Yeah, probably. I mean, we've seen them around every now and then. They're popping around. Are you excited for Space Pirates D&D? Yes, I am. In fact, I should really start promoting that a little bit. I think Roger, King of the Pirates is doing. He's gonna be part of the Space Pirates D&D. No, Rustage was talking to me about that and was like, I think we could start like promoting like our characters. I am gonna be playing. And I actually mentioned my character when I was at Techo. That was the first time I mentioned it. But I am going to be playing a large rock alien. I will be Crag, son of Kronk. And that will be my character, and I'm going to be a fighter. It's the first time I'm really playing like a melee class in a big way. So I'm really excited for Space Pirates D&D. And that should be in September. I don't know the exact date if Rustage is locked down a day necessarily. But yeah, there's that. Rox knows too much. 2 theories. He found Davy Jones's logbook, or he's been Laugh-Tail first. He knows what is needed to bring down the Holy Land. Yeah, there's something that he knows about. Like, yeah, something passed down from Davy Jones, which then he passed down to Blackbeard or something. But Rox has a plan. He's not some dumb guy. He has a plan. And I already answered that one. Okay, here we go. Who is playing? So there's Connor Quest, and then there is... I know I've said Connor and Mark Schwabity were going to be part of that, but there's another character, another guy. I've never really talked to him before, but I don't know if Rustage has revealed who it is yet. So I don't know if this is supposed to be kept a mystery or like a big reveal, but I know we've mentioned that Mark and Connor are going to be part of it, and then I'm part of it as well. But I don't know if I should reveal who the 4th player is. Unless it's already been revealed. Rustage said that it's Josh. Okay, yeah, then there you go. It's Josh. Yeah. There you go. I was just like, I don't know if that was supposed to be revealed or not, but like, yeah. That's the case. Yep. Space Pirates! Yes. Can't wait for Luffy to be King of the Pirates. Yeah, that's going to be weird when Luffy becomes King of the Pirates. You know what I mean? Yeah. But how long are you streaming? Well, I'm going to be ending it now because we just ended the Super Chats and we've been an hour and a half, and I got some other stuff to go on to today. Got some yard work to get done. I have to move 73 pavers. That'll be fun. 5 pounds each. 300 and something pounds of pavers I have to move, so that's going to be a great time. I got to do that. Got to go eat first, and then I got to go and help my friends set up a barbecue. So that'll be fun. Greetings from Germany. Dankeschön? I don't know. Guten Tag? Guten Tag is German, right? Yeah, I need to learn German. Have to move to the moon. To the moon! I'd move to the moon. Can we move to the moon? That'd be fantastic if we could just get off this planet and move to the moon. That'd be great. Just like, I'm just going to sit out on the moon and just hang out up there. It's nice. It's quiet. It's the moon. Have fun storming the castle. Yes. Yep. Yes, good luck to wherever you're at in the world. It's rough out there, man. Ugh. How much do they increase by? Increase what by? What's your prediction on bounties? I'm hesitant for Luffy's next bounty to be over 5.5 billion. Like, if that's going to be the one where he's going to be higher than Roger. Or if it's going to be just shy of Roger's. You know what I mean? Like, his next bounty is like 5 billion. because then he'll be less than Whitebeard, less than Roger. So he's not quite on that level yet, but he's extraordinarily close. And then the next bounty after he finds the One Piece is like 6 billion or something. Like Luffy has surpassed both of them. I would be okay for the next bounty with Luffy to just be 5. Because then it'd be like, all right, you're not Whitebeard or Roger yet. But the next, after you find the One Piece, you will be. Yeah. Or if it's just like around where Shanks's is now. Shanks's is. Yeah, well, 56 might be, that's the thing. Like 56 might be his last bounty because of, but it could also be like 7,056,000,000 or something like that. It could also be that. Like the 56 could be in the bounty number. Yeah. But yeah, I think I'm going to get going now. Good luck, everybody out there. Be safe in the world. There's no One Piece chapter this week. I'm going to be doing some videos. I'm going to be gone next weekend, so I'm going to do some stuff for that. And I think we're going to do a tier list. We might do a tier list this week, stream, for the Rocks Pirates. Probably not a super long tier list, but, we have 15 members of the Rocks crew that we could rank, and maybe some other random people in the background. So maybe we can make that work. Maybe we could throw Harold on there too, just for funsies. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I'll see you back here next time. Thanks for watching, everybody. And, remember, this is what's the One Piece. This is the theory. There's 2 trees intermingling in the core of the planet. There we go. We have there. Yeah. All right. Later, everybody. Teching, signing out.